CJ Flyer back with another YouTube video. Luka Doncic out for at least a month. He had a non-contact injury during the Christmas Day game versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see all of it live as I made the mistake of booking my flight during the second half of the game. So I did see a little bit of the first half at the airport, but I did not see the injury live. I saw it after the fact. And I gotta say, non-contact injuries are some of the scariest injuries out there. But I think the blessing in disguise here is that this non-contact injury, this strain to the left calf of Luka Doncic, happened on a very slow movement, not too quick, not too fast. I feel like it could have been a whole lot worse had he tweaked it, sprinting down the court or going up for a rebound or whatnot. So I think it's a little bit of a blessing in disguise in that regard. However, still not great to see, a non-contact injury. And by the way, the reason I'm getting to this a little bit late, I am a bit sick, if you can't tell in my voice. Nothing too serious, but I've been sipping on some bone broth this morning to get the vocal cords warmed up for this video. So bear with me here if we got any voice cracks coming across the microphone. But anywho, the Dallas Mavericks, obviously, not a good look for the team in the short term. In the long term, we'll just have to see how Luka's recovery goes. I'd say, honestly, the most concerning part about this to me is, again, just the longevity of Luka Doncic's career. I've spoken on this before in past videos, how, as far as Luka being injured and not being able to play here and there, it's whatever, but him playing through the bloody knees all through the playoffs last season just kind of has me concerned for the next 5 to 10 years. Maybe not for this season, but just for the long-term future success of Luka and of the franchise. So that being said, in the short term, the schedule is going to start to get a little bit tough. Now, again, I guess the sources say that Luka will be out for at least a month. He'll be reevaluated at the end of January. Having this calf strain, he underwent an MRI, received multiple opinions. So they're going to take another look at it next month. Now, a calf strain, obviously, as many of y'all probably know, the Achilles tendon connected to the calf. If you mess around with a calf strain too much, it could lead to issues with the Achilles as well. I'm no doctor, but I've seen it, so you just got to be careful. So I'm sure they're going to take it easy. Now, of course, 1 month from now being the end of January, the All-Star break will be right around the corner, so you would have to imagine that perhaps Luka won't be coming back until post-All-Star break, which means Luka's probably not going to be on the All-Star team. He's going to miss the minimum game requirement to be on the All-NBA team. And he's going to miss the requirement to be in the MVP voting, which is very unfortunate because I've spoken my opinion before about how I thought Luka should have won the MVP last year, or at least been the second highest in the standings for MVP in voting. But it's not happening this year because of the NBA's new 65-game minimum requirement to win awards, and rightfully so. At this point, it looks like Luka might just play half the season. Yeah, so that's just the unfortunate part. Now, talking about the team and the team success, awards are one thing, but team success, I think we all care about that a little bit more. Obviously, it kind of sucks that Luka's All-NBA streak is going to be coming to an end, but it is what it is. Now, looking at the Dallas Mavericks record so far this season without Luka, the Mavs have played 30 games at this point, 19 wins, 11 losses, and in those 30 games, Luka was not playing in 8 of them, and in those 8 games, the Mavericks have 6 wins and 2 losses. So let's look at these wins here. Obviously, we got the tough matchup against OKC on the road. Mavericks were actually up by quite a bit at the end of the fourth quarter and almost threw that game away, but ended up winning by 2. Granted, OKC was also missing a couple key players in that matchup. Did not have a lot of depth at the big position at the center. Denver, I believe, if I remember correctly, they did not have Aaron Gordon for that game, but otherwise were at full strength. That was a tough win on the road for the Mavericks without Luka. This game against Miami was a winnable game. This went into overtime. Kyrie missed the second free throw, or was it the first free throw? He went 1 of 2 from the line. Had he made both free throws, they would have been up by 3, which would have forced Miami to put up a 3-point attempt to tie the game to go to overtime. But instead, the Heat had a chance to either tie or win the game, being down by 2 with a few seconds left, and they opted for the tie with Jimmy Butler cutting to the hoop and getting the easy bucket. So, these games, I guess you could say, could have gone either way, right? And again, it's just all circumstantial. The other teams were also missing some players, or like in this game versus Miami, it could have been a win. Unfortunately throwing the game away at the end there. That's just how it goes sometimes, especially in the regular season. Now, this game against Atlanta, great win. This was the next day after the Miami loss, so to be able to bounce back like that in less than 24 hours is absolutely phenomenal, especially without your best player. This game against the Knicks, I went to this game. Every single player was hot. I don't think there was a single player that wasn't making shots on that Mavericks team. And honestly, the score differential could have been a lot more. And then, of course, we got the Jazz. That's, I think it's expected the Mavs would be able to handle the Utah Jazz without Luka. And then you got 1 win, 1 loss here in that back-to-back series against the Clippers last week. So I guess what's the takeaway from all of this that I'm trying to make here is, for one, the wins against the good teams here, you have to take into account the fact that they're dealing with some injuries. Now, I guess every NBA team has injuries along the way throughout the regular season. That being said, they still had their best players. Denver still had Jokic. OKC still had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Miami Heat could have been a win, and they had Jimmy Butler. And then the Knicks were at full strength, and the Mavs win by 15. So, to put it bluntly, even though, these teams here were missing some guys, the Knicks are obviously a great team. Mavs are able to get the win without Luka. This team can hold its own without Luka. Past years with the Dallas Mavericks, if you didn't have Luka on your team or if Luka wasn't available, you may as well just chalk it up as a loss. You're going to have a losing record in the short term without Luka playing. But this season, with this team, with Kyrie Irving, with PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, you got some defensive menaces, you got some offensive production, you got Quentin Grimes, you got Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson's had some good games lately. This team can hold its own. And of course, with the center rotation, with Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. No longer relying on Dwight Powell to be the starting center, kind of like that Mavs team that made it to the Western Conference Finals in 2022. So things are looking up despite, Luka being out for at least the next month. So I'd say the main concern at this point is, can Luka whip himself up into shape when he returns from injury to be able to perform in the playoffs? Now, I know some folks are like, well, who knows? Maybe the Mavs aren't going to make the playoffs. But again, I'm saying here, like the record shows for itself. 6 wins, 2 losses without Luka. They can hold their own. It's against good teams. And looking at the standings right now, sitting at 4th place. Now, I need to call myself out. I said the Mavs would be top 3 in the West by Christmas. Clearly, that did not come true, so I was wrong. Obviously, some unforeseen circumstances, but that's how it goes in the NBA regular season. So I'm calling myself out. My prediction was wrong. I had Mavs top 3. They finished 4th. It is what it is. Let's move on. It's fun to make hot takes and then look back at them later. So I'm going to call myself out. Unlike some folks, on national media, I will call myself out. So the Mavericks finished 4th by Christmas. It is what it is. So looking forward at the schedule, looking at the standings first, a couple games up of next spot down, the Denver Nuggets. Obviously, I would expect the Nuggets will probably leapfrog the Mavs at some point in the next couple weeks here. But looking at some of these other teams, you got the Lakers, you got the Clippers. Kawhi is still out. Lakers are dealing with their own issues, as they always are, it seems. Minnesota dealing with their own issues. The Warriors trading for Dennis Schroeder in the absence of DeAnthony Melton due to his season-ending injury. Solid move by the Warriors to try to make up for the loss on the roster. And then the Phoenix Suns, of course, they got their own issues on and off with injuries as well. Kevin Durant, he's getting older, not getting any younger. So anyways, I'm not too worried, okay? Like I'm really not that concerned. I know some people might be, but just, PTSD from past years of the Mavericks' lack of team success when Luka's injured. But honestly, this team is so much better and so much more equipped to handle this kind of a situation. Kudos to the front office of the Dallas Mavericks for making this happen. Now, one thing I do not want to see, I don't even want to see a single trade this season before the deadline. I don't want to see a trade. I know some people might disagree with me. Totally fine. I'd love to hear your opinions on it in the comments. I'm tired of all these rumors about trading one of Gafford or Lively. I'm tired of these rumors about bringing Jimmy Butler in. I don't want any of it. That's got to be noise created by someone else. I just don't see why the Mavericks would do that in this situation. They've proved they can win games without Luka. They've got all the pieces that you would want to see in a team contending for the finals. You got the defense. You got the rebounders. You got the interior D, you got the playmaking, you got the scoring ability. I guess if you wanted to get nitpicky, maybe it would be nice to have a true point guard off the bench, or perhaps another forward. Because when PJ is out, it seems like the defense definitely suffers a bit. Outside of that, yes, there's always room to improve, but otherwise, I don't see why you'd touch any of what you got going on, especially with the team chemistry being at what I see as like an all-time high at this point. Most of the rosters there from last year's run, and they seem to be getting along very well. You look at the vibe of some of the other teams that come in, I just don't see it. I don't see why you'd make a trade at this point, unless the only exception is if you're looking to trade some guys like Maxi Kaliba, who's had some injury issues. You look to trade a guy like if there's some rumblings about, I haven't really dived deep into the whole financial situation of it all, but with Quentin Grimes being a restricted free agent, if another team were to offer him a super large contract that the Mavs are not willing to match or able to match, again, I don't know what the financials of that all look like. I haven't really looked into it. But if there were some rumblings of that, I guess perhaps include him in a trade if the price is right. Same with Jaden Hardy, although I feel like you got him on a really good contract for a guy that can just put up 20-plus points at any given night. Look, I just don't see why you'd make a move. And then you got Dante Exum that's going to be coming back hopefully sometime in the next month or so. So, I'm not really worried about this team. And let's go ahead. I'm going to just show you all right now. We're going to look at the schedule. I screenshotted the schedule coming up. All through to the All-Star break. I'm going to start marking games that, we're just going to go with worst case scenario in my mind as far as how the Mavericks will do without Luka through the All-Star break. So right away, at Phoenix today, I'm recording this on the 27th. We're gonna mark that as a loss. Let's just be honest with ourselves, okay? Let's just mark it up as a loss. Portland, kind of iffy. Portland played their best game against the Mavs the last time the Mavs went into Portland earlier this season. Do I think it'll happen again? Not necessarily. Some of these I want to mark as like a yellow, perhaps could be win, could be loss. Now the Kings, my goodness, the Kings have been struggling so bad. They just lost 5 in a row at home, I believe. So, I don't want to mark that as a loss. We're going to mark that as nothing. We're going to mark it as a win. And also, I need to say, I think if the Mavericks end up finishing, break even, same number of wins, losses through the All-Star break, still a pretty good chance at getting a solid playoff spot. Okay? So honestly, at this point, in my mind, the end goal is to finish top 6 in the West. With Luka gone for extended amount of time, and obviously for some of these games, Kyrie might be out too. You got to take that into consideration. So you look at this, and I'm just hoping they break even for the rest of the season. Not for their overall record, but for the record from starting today through to the All-Star break. I just hope that they break even. Kings, I think the Kings is a win. Now, this stretch of 3 or 4 games, oh my goodness. At Houston, at home against Cleveland, at Memphis, home against LA. Honestly, I'd be happy if they win one of these 4. I'm just being honest. I don't have high hopes at all. This is where the media's going to start ragging on the Mavs. The Mavs are not a serious contender, yada, yada, yada. They need Luka to win. You're going to hear it all. I'm telling you right now. You are going to hear it all during this stretch of games. They're going to lose 4 of the next 6, and the media's going to come in with the fire. I'm telling you now. This Lakers one, I mark this as maybe a win, maybe a loss. Portland, I'd expect they win this one at home. Denver, a doubleheader against Denver at home. Now, with this being at home, I would think that they could win one of the 2, potentially. Okay, so we're going to mark it like that. New Orleans, they better win against New Orleans. Thunder, definitely seeing this as a potential loss. At Charlotte, I would think they could win that one. Home versus Minnesota, another potential loss. At OKC, another potential loss. Finals rematch against Celtics, another potential loss. Wizards, that should be a dub, no question. At New Orleans again, should be a dub. Detroit's not a joke of a team like they were last season. I will mark this as yellow, as like maybe win, maybe loss. Cleveland, at Cleveland, my goodness. Yeah, there's a loss right there. At Sixers, I think Embiid might still be hurt, but we'll see. At Boston, definitely a loss. Houston, a loss. Home against Sac, I hope they could win. At home against the Golden State Warriors, that could honestly go either way without Luka. Whoops, I did not mean to mark that as a red. Let's go ahead and do that. Home against Miami, could be win, could be loss. So we're looking at the worst case scenario here. If we start counting up, if we include the yellow marked games as wins, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 in the red ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So, even losing 1 or 2 of these yellow games that I've marked here as maybe win, maybe loss, that still puts the Mavs around break even for the, starting from today through to the All-Star break. So, it's going to suck. People are going to hate on the Mavs. They're going to lose a lot of games against some good teams. Or at least I'm expecting that they're going to lose some games against some good teams. I expect Kyrie will be out for some of these games. He hasn't played a lot of hold on. I got to pull up the stats real quick. Yeah, so I know I've said this in past videos. Kyrie has not played more than 60 games since the 2018-2019 season when he was with the Boston Celtics. That feels like a lifetime ago at this point. just realistically, it just feels so long ago, man. That is 6 seasons ago. So there's been a bit of a stretch of him not playing more than 60 games in a regular season. Especially if you look at his time with the Dallas Mavericks here. The season where he played on both Brooklyn and Dallas's teams, he played 60. Last season, he played 58. So far, he's at 27 games with playing 27 of the 30. So we're looking at 52 games left. Historically speaking, he would only play half of those if that trend were to continue. But, he's been looking good so far this season, so maybe he ends up actually playing a significant number of games. We'll just have to see. We'll have to see. But I did want to bring that up just to show y'all why I'm expecting Kyrie might miss some games. Just historically speaking, he's had his fair share of injury issues as well. So, just again, looking at this all. As a Dallas Mavericks fan, I'm not losing my mind. I know a lot of people are. Honestly, kind of not a great Christmas day for a lot of Mavericks fans, but that's kind of just how the cookie crumbles. This, honestly, could all be a blessing in disguise. Like I said, it looks like the play in which he strained the calf, it could have been a lot worse. It was a very slow movement that resulted in the strain, in him kind of limping off the court. So I see that as a blessing, because had he pulled the muscle on a much more quicker movement, or a much more, a movement that required much more force, it could have been a lot worse. Could have been a lot worse. So that's how I'm feeling. Is, well, injury could have been worse. This gives the team a chance to really, get tested here. How well can this roster come together without Luka? You still got a month and a half before the trade deadline. So if you feel like some guys can't hold their own without the best player on the team, maybe you start looking at some possible trade opportunities. Again, I don't really want the team to do any of that right now, but I'm just throwing that out there. It gives it the time to kind of test things out without Luka being there, in case he's not available for part of the playoffs as well. I think it's just overall, it's in a way a blessing. And again, people are going to start underrating the Dallas Mavericks once again, as if they weren't already, and they're going to start surprising folks once again come playoff time. So I don't think they're going to be top 3. I'm not going to make some prediction like that right now. I'm hopeful that they can stay in the top 6, but it's going to be a tough road ahead. Realistically, they will probably fall to 7th or 8th during this stretch. That'll be my prediction. They're going to fall to around that 7 to 8 mark. But I think this team can hold its own without Luka. There is the possibility they still end up in the top 6 by the All-Star break. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like and subscribe. I never say that. Why am I saying that? I guess YouTubers say that. Like and subscribe. Click on one of the... I'm sick. Give me a break. Click on one of the videos right now for some more NBA discussion. I'll see you all over there.